Hi everyone, my name is Amber, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Bookmas. So I don't know which order I am uploading these videos in, but I am uploading every single day up until Christmas. I will leave a playlist to my Bookmas videos down below if you want to go and check them all out. Please subscribe if you want to see more from me, and without further ado, let's get on to the video. So I have a ton of books that I meant to read in 2021. I'm sure that's the same for all of you, but I didn't get to them for one reason or another. Normally it's because I mood read. I am quite a big mood reader, even though I do try to stick to a TBR. So sometimes these books have been on a TBR and I just haven't gotten to them in that month because either I've run out of time or I just haven't been in the mood for that kind of genre. Most of the ones I haven't been in the mood for have been fantasy, because even though fantasy is one of my favourite genres, I have to be in the right mood for it. And thrillers, on the other hand, I'm always in the mood for. I'm always in the mood for a quick thriller that I can just sink my teeth into and read in just a couple of sittings, whereas fantasy, especially starting a new series, it takes a bit more involvement with my brain. So I have quite a few books here that I meant to read in the past, ones that I've been talking about for months or years maybe, and I also have some books that I spoke about in my most anticipated releases for 2021 video that I didn't get to, but there are only actually like 4 or 5 of those, so I'm quite pleased with myself. I'm going to start off with the physical books first because that's going to be easiest, and then we'll talk about the ones that I don't own yet. I don't know why I said that so weirdly, but it just came out. So the first one I'm quite sad that I didn't get to, but I am making a dent in it, is Atonement Unbounded. So this one is a collection of short stories by Brandon Sanderson. It's all within the Cosmere. In here it includes Edge Dancer, which I haven't read, The Hope of Elantris, which I have, The 11th Metal, which I have, The Emperor's Soul, already read that, Alamancer Jack, read that. Haven't read White Sand. I don't think I've read Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell. Don't think I've read Sixth of the Dusk, and I have read Mistborn Secret History. So I'm 2/3 of the way through if you kept track of me listing those off. I actually received this gorgeous copy from the publisher years ago and I've been working my way through. I read quite a few of the short stories actually earlier on this year, I think in February perhaps, and I just haven't gotten around to the rest. So for one of these, Edge Dancer, I believe I had to wait until I read Words of Radiance to start, so that's why I haven't started that. And then as for White Sand, I'm not sure where that fits in, so I'm gonna have to do some more research, but I am planning on finishing this off in 2022 now that I'm slowly catching up with the Cosmere books. Speaking of Cosmere, because I might as well, we have Oathbringer. This is part 2 because part 1 was buried in my bookshelf and I couldn't be bothered to kind of grab it. But yeah, I haven't started Oathbringer yet. I finished Words of Radiance in, I think, October, and I was hyped to carry on with the series, but I think I need to give myself some room to breathe, especially because Oathbringer is meant to be a lot slower than Words of Radiance was. And I also think I need to read Edge Dancer first. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a novella, short story, in between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer, and then between Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, because this is the new thing that Brandon Sanderson is doing. This is obviously the 3rd book in the Stormlight archive. I'm very much looking forward to reading it soon. I'm definitely going to read it by the time the year 2022 is over. I think I have included this in my books I will read in 2022 video. I love this series so much, I'm getting really into it, so I'm glad that I have 2 or 6, depending on if you count the short stories and you count the books that split up into 2, either 2 or 6 books to go. Next we have a YA fantasy, and that is We Hunt the Flame. So I've started this one 3 times at this point and I keep getting to about the same spot and then stopping. So I think next year I'm finally going to start this again and properly dive into it. So the first time I read it I couldn't get into it. The writing style was just a little bit off to me. Second time, same thing, but the 3rd time I was really getting into it, but then I ran out of time at the end of 1 month, and then into the next I had some other commitments, and I think work kind of blew up and went a bit mad. So I will be getting to this next year. It's just such a shame that I haven't read it yet because I keep meaning to, and I know that the 2nd book is out now, so at least then if I enjoy this one I can marathon the series, the duology, and hopefully really get invested, because I think I'm going to love this one. I love desert fantasy, and I know Hafsa from her book blogging days, so it's really nice to see a book blogger really take off and shine. I think that's brilliant. Breaking up the fantasy, we have Atonement. I've been saying I will read this one for absolute years. My friend Alex keeps cheering me on every time I say that I'm going to read it and I put it in a TBR, but I never get around to it. But this time I'm going to, in 2022, not anytime soon. I honestly have no idea what this one's about. I've avoided all spoilers, so I'm really pleased with myself for that. I think it's some sort of historical. It says here that it's set in 1935. I don't know whether it's set in the UK or the US or a different continent altogether. I'm not entirely sure, but I really wanted to get to this year, and it's one that I have been in the mood for on occasion, but then other stuff comes up and my review copies and other, you know, newer releases tend to take priority, and I put that down. Next we have more fantasy. The first one is Best Served Cold by Abercrombie. This is one of his standalone books set in the same First Law world. I think this is the first standalone that you should read after finishing First Law, which I have done. So I've been meaning to read this upon my partner's recommendation, but it's chunky and I was expecting it to be shorter. My fantasy mood reading for this past year has just been awful, which is why so many books on this list are fantasy, because I just haven't been in the mood for it. I don't know why. Next we have Age of Myth, which I did start reading. I think I read about 30 pages, but I struggled a lot, and I don't know if it's because I don't really understand the world building just yet. I don't know if I'm reading these out of order, because I don't think this was the first book that Michael J. Sullivan published in this like greater universe that he's doing. So I think I'm going to read them in publication order, and I don't think it starts with this one. Next we have The Black Prism, which is a huge book and I keep putting it off, but I'm convinced I'm going to really enjoy this one. I've also got Brent Weeks' other trilogy or other series it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but it starts with The Way of Shadows. I think it's like Night Angels or something. And I've heard that one's not very good, and I'm fully prepared to not enjoy it. What I really want to do, because I like reading authors' work in publication order, ideally, I want to read Night Angels first and then read this one, but I've heard Night Angels is very good, so maybe I will start with this one. And this is kind of what my brain has been doing constantly, is going back and forth about which one to start. So I just need to make the decision and start this one, I think, or start the other one. My friend Angela really enjoys this series, and I think she's also read Night Angel and she said it's not the best, which is fine. I'm gonna go in prepared, but I do really want to read this book because I think the magic system in it sounds like my kind of thing. It's based on light and colours, I think. And I don't think the series ended well. I think it ended like this year or last year, and the final books got some negative reviews. That's also putting me off, but I do want to read it, I promise, even though I am saying all these negative things. So next we have The City of Brass, which if you have been following me for a while, you'll know that I have actually read and I've finished the series and I loved it. But I like to reread this series every year because it's my all-time favourite, or one of my all-time favourite series. But I didn't this year and I don't know why. I really should have done. I'm going to next year in time for the short stories to come out, I think in March. I'm such a bad fan, but I'm fairly sure the audiobook comes out in March and then the hardback comes out in October. I'll correct myself if I'm like horribly wrong. But yeah, I didn't reread it this year, and that's a mistake because I love this trilogy so much. It ends so well. It's honestly one of the best written trilogies I've ever read. Everything comes together at the end. It's fantastic, so read it if you haven't already. Then we have The Demon King book 4, which I can't remember the name of and I can't find it on my shelf because it's over here. One second. There we go. It's called The Crimson Crown, and I read the first 3 books in the series years ago because all of my friends were really enjoying them. This was promoted and really hyped around the same time as, what was that book called? It was by Ray Carson, The Girl of Fire and Thorns, I think. Everyone was obsessed with that and this, but I just never finished it because I've always had a problem finishing series. And I think I first read this series in, it would have been 2013, 14, and I still haven't finished it because I am a state. But what I want to do, because I haven't recapped the 3rd book yet, I'm going to read my own recaps for books 1 and 2, reread book 3 in its entirety, recap it, and then get around to this one. But yeah, I did want to finish this series this year. I think it might have been on my series to finish list, which between you and me, I'm quite scared to go and rewatch because I don't think I finished any series this year, at least none of the ones that I would have put on my list. So let me know if you want me to do a video on series that I said I would finish in 2021 but didn't, because I don't think I've finished very many, which is quite scary. But this would have been on there but this probably would have been on that list and I still haven't read it. So I'm terrible and I should have done that, but maybe next year, we'll see. And then we have some books from my most anticipated releases for 2021 list. I actually read the majority of them. I was going to do a video of me reacting to that previous video and talking about the ones I have read or haven't. There are actually only 4 books that I didn't get to that I said I was most anticipating, so I think that's really good. Out of a video of like maybe 15 to 20 books, I've read most of them, so I'm very pleased with myself. But the first one that I haven't read is The Project by Courtney Summers. This one I was very hyped for after loving Sadie, but I don't think this one's got very good reviews since, so I think what I'm going to do is let the hype die down a little bit. I think it probably has by now, and I'll get to this sometime next year, I think, if I'm in the mood for it. I can't remember what it's about, to be honest, and I still don't think I've forgotten all of the bad reviews that it got. I think people were very much expecting something similar to Sadie, and that's not what this turned out to be, so that's a shame. but I didn't want a carbon copy anyway, and I think I'm probably still going to enjoy it, so we'll see. The next one is The Ivies, and I haven't written the author on my notes, but I think this is by Alexa Dunn. I haven't read this one yet, but I'm going to early on next year because I'm going to read all 3 of her books and decide which one I think is best, so it's going to be one of my projects. I just didn't have time to get around to it this year, as well as her 2 other books, and I'd only just decided that I wanted to do this project or include her in this project quite late in the year. So yeah, I do want to read it at some point though. I still want to read it. Next we have The Divines, which I think is set in like a private boarding school kind of setting, and I think it's like a mystery dark contemporary book. I can't really remember much. It came out in January 2021 and it didn't really get much hype outside of like that month or its surrounding months. It is one that I still want to read though. And then the last one that I included in that list that I didn't get to is The Ladies of the Circus, and I don't remember anything about this one, to be honest. I imagine it's set in a circus and it's like, I don't know if there are any fantastical elements or what's going on, but I love the cover and so I might try to read it just to complete that list. Maybe in like January or February next year. I haven't seen anyone talk about this though, like within my circles or outside of them even. I haven't seen many like reviews for this, so I'm gonna have to look up some reviews and see what other people think, because I really need to do my research before I pick this one up. So those are 13 books that I wish I had read in 2021 but I didn't get around to. Some of them I will definitely get around to in 2022 quite early on as well. Others I'm probably going to have to space out a bit. Others I might not get to at all, like that last one. It's a shame though, because I was really excited for it at the time, I'm sure, and I've been excited about all of these at one point or another, which is why I'm doing my 0 TBR challenge and trying to get to my backlist books, but more about that in another video. Let me know if there are any books that you said that you would read in 2021 but you haven't yet for whatever reason. If you're willing to share that reason, then even better. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out my Bookmas playlist down below, and I'll speak to you all in my next video. Bye!